It's great to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us. As you can see, Jamie Carragher is here this morning as well. How are you, first of all?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much. No, all good. Really good. As good as possible, I would say. Personally, in a good place. So with the family, it's getting longer and longer for all of us. Obviously, we all are desperate to, at one point, to get back to normality. But as far as I'm concerned, for us here, it's good. But yeah, the world is in a crazy place, and we have all to be patient.
Well, it is. What are you missing most, Jurgen, while you're sitting at home?
Look, my life didn't change too much, to be honest. I can't usually go out or stuff like that. It's so my private life, if I could go to Melwood once a day for 8, 9, 10 hours, then it would be the same, because at home it's always the same. We don't go in restaurants and stuff like this, so that didn't change too much. So I don't miss this part of it. But of course, I miss the boys. I miss football, how it is, and I miss for everybody else that they could have their normal life. So it's not too important how I feel, because I'm used to what is it, a lockdown, a private lockdown if you want. But I can imagine for the people out there, it's much more difficult, and I hope it will change at some point.
So in terms of the players, how much contact are you actually able to have with them over this kind of format?
A lot. So on WhatsApp, much more than before, I would say, because you don't need WhatsApp when you see each other every day. But we have a lot of contact, individual contact with the group contact. We have We had a lot of sessions already together on the same app like we are using here now on Zoom, and so that works really well. Our athletic department is doing a brilliant job. Nutritioning is doing a brilliant job. So that all works really well. But of course, it's one thing to speak to somebody, and the other thing is to see somebody really physically. So, but the contact is there. We know everything about each other, and that's like it should be.
Jurgen, you're obviously in this situation now. It's unprecedented. You're a very experienced manager now, being successful. I just want to try and take you back to maybe your early days in management as well. And we talk a lot about on our shows about your style of football and different managers. Has your style changed a lot since you originally started as a manager at Mind, in terms of tactically and on the pitch?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, of course. But it's some ideas were always the same. It was always the organization was, or the idea about the organization was similar. So where I wanted to win the ball back with my teams and stuff like this. So these things never really changed, because I just think they are right. But of course, as a manager, you have to adapt your style to the quality of the players you have available, and the quality increased a lot in the last few years. Not only here, Dortmund already was different to Mainz. In Mainz, it was different from year to year. But it's all about the organization. It's not that I have a fixed idea. That's how it should be, and then I try to push it through with the boys. It's just I try to understand exactly the quality, the skills of the boys, and then to use that, because the pitch had in all my career always the same size, and the rules didn't change too much since I'm a manager. So these things are clear. So you have to try to adapt to the different situations, and that's of course a lot of things changed. The way I work changed. So I started alone. Now I have a lot of coaches next to me, and that's all different to how it was.
Is there anything in the way you change as a manager? Is that also brought on because of maybe players changing or society changing, or do you still deal with players in a similar way to how you started to right now?
That didn't change too much. In the very beginning, I was just much closer age-wise to the players. So I became a manager when I was 33. I had 2 players in my team. I think they were older than me, and no really, really young players. So now I have to deal with 33, 34-year-old players and 16 and 17-year-old players in the same squad. So that, of course, is a challenge, but was never really difficult to me, because I never judged people as a group. I always judged them individually. So that not really changed. I know what you mean. It's social media came in. Players are much more television much more TV demands coming in. So newspapers, everything is the world makes a fuss of pretty much everything what the boys are doing, and so that I'm 52 now and older and saw most of the things already helps, of course. So but my real do I treat the players differently to the past? I don't think so. Maybe they tell me one day I have to change because I'm now too old to be in moments on one level with them. Yeah, then maybe I have to change, or I have to stop then, I don't know. But so far, nobody came to me. So it was always the same. I was always really close to the boys, wanted to be close to the boys, wanted them to feel faith and trust. And so I never had to change, or nobody told me also.
How do you draw those boundaries then, Jurgen? A difference between being a manager, a father figure, and a friend to these players?
Look, it's exactly the same like it's with my sons. My players aren't my sons. I explained it a couple of times, but my sons are now turning 35 and 33. Wow. And no, 32, and that's pretty much exactly the same. So there are moments when you are a father, there are moments when you are a friend, there are moments when you have to criticize them. These are always exactly the same, and I always did that with my players as well. So we can have a really close relationship, and the closer relationship you get, the more you have to tell the truth to the boys, because they judge you on that. And so that's really, I explained it once and said I really want to be the friend of my players, but I cannot be their best friend. So that's how it is. A friend has to tell you the truth. A friend has to tell you what you can do better. A friend has to and will tell you always what is right and what is wrong, and that's exactly what I do, but never in a manner that they cannot get up next morning. It's always the same reason. I want to help them. I have no other job. My job is to help the boys to be the best player they can be, and there are a few things to do.
Do you think this sort of humanity, if you like, this ability to empathize with your players, is really at the crux of your success as a manager?
I have no idea if that's a big part of it or not. I really look. If it is, then I'm lucky, because I couldn't have done it differently. So I couldn't have done it differently. But I really think.
I think a lot of people think it is, Jurgen.
Yeah. Okay. Then I don't know what the people think, to be honest. But that's then, how I said, if it's a big part of my success, whatever success it is, then it's coincidence, and it's a pure. It's really luck, because I couldn't do it differently, because I have to feel comfortable as well in the situation, and that's why I do it like I do it. But the main part of all of it, I could be the nicest guy in the world, but I'm obviously not. But if I have no clue about football, the players realize that in a second, and then I lose them all, because they don't want to have a nice guy in the manager's office. They want to have somebody who helps them, who gives them the right information. And so that was much more important, I think, than that I learned over the years so much about the game, that I could adapt to the different situations, that we really that is a bigger part of the career I had so far.
Yeah, again, as Dave mentioned, you're seen as a manager who has a great relationship with his squad and players. And I think a lot of time, my experience as a player, that when a player and a manager fall out, normally it becomes through not playing in the team. I was just wondering, when you're actually picking teams, do you tell a player before the game if he's dropped privately, or is it a case of, no, I just pick the team and the players have to deal with it when I get that information maybe 2 hours before the game?
Oh, the players know usually a day before the game, later, maybe even 2 days before the game, if they play or not. I never did it that I made a lineup in the hotel when I show them the first time, and then they think, oh, well, interesting, I play. So I want them to prepare for it and all that stuff. But but I treat them individually. That means if I don't know, a player who played the last 20 games in a row is not playing the next game, it's not a big problem. But I still tell him, normal rotation during a season when we have 3 games a week or something like that, and I changed the front line, the strikers, or in midfield where we change quite a lot. Then I don't explain the boys. I explain it once before the season or in a specific period of the season, and then it's clear. So you start today, you don't start the next game and stuff like. I have to judge the situation always in the moment, so that I think, okay, last game was too intense maybe for him. He played outstanding, but that could still mean he will not play the next game because it's 3 days later. We had then situations like in the Champions League semi-final last year, second leg, when I realized after the game, because everybody told me that Gini Wijnaldum was really angry that he didn't start. I didn't see it in the training. That's the most important thing. I tell the boys, you don't have to be happy with my decisions. You only have to accept them. And after the game, we can speak about it. It's no problem. We can talk about it. That's no problem. Before the game, we cannot. So when I make a decision, we go on the training ground and there's the lineup, and then the player looks at me and thinks, what idea is that, or why I don't play? That shows me that the player don't understand our situation, and we just that the next game is the most important thing. The most important. You have to respect that. And if you come to me in that moment, if you don't train well in that moment, then you could have problems with me, really. But if you are in a session and you are not happy, I see that, but you train well. Come after the game Monday morning in my office, doors open, we can talk about it, and I can explain it if there's something to explain. So that's always like this. There is not, if you say I'm kind of a friend of the player, believe me, around the match day, I am the friend of exactly 11 players, and all the others have some points or some things to criticize, if you would ask them then.
Jurgen, you mentioned, a Champions League final, and obviously you've had a great journey as a manager getting to that level now, winning the Champions League last season. But how vital was it for you personally, and to give you the belief as a manager, that first title at Dortmund, that your methods and your way of working was actually going to be successful through your career?
The first title at Dortmund? How did you ask? Oh, yeah, massive. Look, when you become a manager, you can. It's maybe some of us dream. I'm not sure if I did it. It's too long ago. But you cannot really plan to be really successful. A lot of things have to come together to fit into each other. That you first and foremost, you need a sensational football team. You need to trust, and for this, you can be the best manager in the world in the wrong club with the wrong CEO. You have no chance. So you need the support around, and that's what I always had. I had a mindset that is Dortmund. And in Dortmund, the situation was like this: that when I came there, I had no idea about the financial problems of Dortmund in that period. Still, I realized it after I signed the contract that they told me we have exactly like 6-7 million euros to spend, and I thought, okay, for me, from coming from Mainz, that's okay. But then they showed me a centre half, which was 8 million, but they wanted him if he's 6 million. I watched him. I said, I don't want him at all. So, and then we spent money on Neven Subotic, for example, 5 million. So that was the situation that we had no money. So we had to be creative. And that we then had this wonderful young, very, very young team. That was luck as well. It's not that we all found them everywhere. Some of them were already there. Some of them we had to bring in, and then it worked really well together. And to prove it then, in 2011, after being already together for 3 years, was of course a massive thing for all of our careers, not only for mine, for the players' careers as well. It was the first one, is in a lot of parts of life, maybe not the best one, but the one you can remember for the longest time. And we still can remember that day 100%, how we played, who played, and all that stuff. So that was really easy, and we enjoyed it a lot, and it was a sensational team. Just the boys, we all realized during a season it's possible. Wow, we were surprised by ourselves that it's possible, but we realized it, and then we just did it, and the year after again. And so yes, that you feel really that you get the real proof that something works out gives you a lot of confidence, 100%. And so I enjoyed it a lot, and it was a massive moment for our careers.
But when you joined Liverpool, Jurgen, I remember you speaking in that very first press conference with a real conviction about, 4 years' time. I'm pretty confident that we're going to have some success here. Now, was that confidence based on those methods that you've just been talking about there, or was it because you were so confident about the relationship that you were going to have with the the chief executive and the rest of the staff at Liverpool, or has it just fallen beautifully into place?
Yeah, pretty much that. But it's look, it was clear we need time. It was really clear we need time. It was clear we cannot fix it overnight. Everybody wanted that, but it was clear. So, and I had to ask for time. That's how it is. And I knew. So before that in my career, I never got a sack. So I had no real experience with that. But I knew now I'm on it's a different level. And if I cannot deliver here quick enough, then I will get the sack. So as easy as that. So, and that's why I said, if I sit here in 4 years still, then something happened probably in between now and then. It was not that I asked for 4 years, it's just I asked for a little bit of time. And we got that. And the nice thing was that after a few, I'm not sure, 6, 7, 8 games, our owners already, so they were really positive about the situation, signing me, and that I would be the right one and stuff like this together with my coaches. But after 7, 8 games, they realized, okay, yes, we're on the right path. And from that moment on, they didn't question it 1 second anymore. And so before anyway, not, but after that, it was completely full of faith and trust, and said, okay, that will be this the path we stay on. And everything will be fine. Who knows if you can win something in that difficult league, but we will try this way. And that's what we did then. So we never really thought about losing final stuff like this when we lost them, like against Sevilla, against City and all that stuff, or against Madrid. It was never, so I think pundits say then, if he not wins the next one, then they have to change something or whatever.
That was Neville, not me.
I don't know. I only guess that somebody said that. Yeah, that's how it is now. But it was internally never somebody really, nobody thought like this. So
I'm pretty sure, Jurgen, that from what you said previously about your time at Dortmund and the way you like to work, that you would never have Liverpool have signed a player that you didn't want. But did you ever have to be convinced by your staff about a player that you signed?
That the scouts or whoever had to convince me about a player.
Yeah.
Not really. So, but how I said, it's clear. Sometimes I know a player and want him, and sometimes the scouting department is coming up with. I ask for a position where we have to improve, and then they send me a couple of videos, and we start watching them. No, but nobody had to convince me. It's easy because there's nothing to convince about. It's about the right decision. And for the right decision, you need sometimes a lot of opinions. If you don't know the player, if I work together with a player, I know him really well. I know about his weaknesses, his strengths, skills, problems, private situation, all that. If you don't know that, you need a lot of information. And this information comes from different areas. And so you need all these guys. But there was never a moment where we had to convince somebody, or or the scouting department had to convince the coaches or whatever. No, it was always a common decision. In the end, it always felt really, really logical. It felt just the right thing to do in this moment. And yeah, we were really lucky with the boys because we had we saw a lot of footage, a lot of videos, and we spoke often to them. But in the end, you realize and you really see how a person is when you work together with them. And they were even better than in our talks, and that makes it really special.
Jurgen, this is the first time at Liverpool where you've been abroad as a player or a manager. Could you just tell us the differences between the German maybe mentality, football, and the way we do things in England, and maybe give us one good thing that you enjoy here that's different, maybe one bad?
So for me, the job is not too different, to be honest, because I was always involved in pretty much everything. In Germany, you are really the head coach usually. So that means you are responsible for the team. That's it. And of course, you can have your say in transfers. It's not that the club signs players and tells you, so train them tomorrow morning from 9 o'clock. But I was always involved in like marketing stuff, retail, all these kind of things, long-term plannings and training ground. Yeah, no, I was not involved here in the stand. It was already planned when I came, but all this kind of stuff. So there's a difference. It's not too big, but still, you give a lot of power in this country to the manager. So, and that changed a lot in the moment when you come in. It's like I said it before. I could have decided at that time if we use from now on blue pens or green pens or red pens, and they would have thrown all the other pens away, and we start now. That's it. That's exactly the way how we're going to do it. That's made one reason why he was so successful at Dortmund, because he used green, whatever. And so there's a risk in that. 100%, there's a risk in it, because I think meanwhile it's getting more and more, it's getting better and better, because I think this responsibility should have shared on different shoulders. So there must be, if it's a CEO, a sporting director, or whatever, and of course the manager, that must be like this. But it's not the only way to be successful is if you have the strong manager who decides everything, and after he leaves, it's like a white blank, and you have to start everything new. That should not work like this. And club needs consistency, and that therefore there need to be other people. And that's a big difference, I would say, or was a big difference between England and Germany.
Yeah, I think you've described your team now as mentality monsters. I think that was maybe a year or so ago.
Obvious.
Really, but, yes. But, I mean, you come back from a Champions League final defeat. You're then obviously very close to a league title last season. Won the Champions League. This season, you know, I've almost won the league, but the situation we're in now, do you think when we come out the other side of the situation that we're in, you've got a squad of players, you actually call them, as I said, mentality monsters, to be able to actually drive on and have a period of success and almost not let anything get in the way of that in the future?
Oh, we will not change. That's the first thing. But if we will be successful, depends to what other clubs are doing as well, because you know that they have all the chance to improve things, to do things better, and all that stuff. So I have no clue what the future will hold for us. But we will not change. We will be. The boys are not. This team is not a finished article. It's not done. We have a lot of space for improvement, and we work on it. We have fresh blood internally coming up. We can mix things through. So there are a lot of things we can improve, obviously, but we can improve it with this team, which is really great. And you're right. Look, life is a constant challenge, and we realize it in this moment, especially because we never faced a challenge like the one we have now. And it looks like the situations we had in the past where we thought there are big problems, they look like nothing. So like losing a Champions League final feels today, nowadays in this world, feels like that's a joke. And nothing else. So, but in this moment, it felt obviously really harsh. And then going again and qualifying again for a Champions League final and losing or not winning the league because of a point or whatever, or because of 11 millimeters and stuff like that, that could be hard. But we always saw it like this. The only way to get something is to give everything. But it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. And but the boys were always ready to give their all. Absolutely all, and try again and try again and try again. And then there are two possible scenarios. One is you lose the final, one is you win the final. You lose the final, there is still a wonderful experience to go there, because you had to qualify in the semifinals, in the quarterfinals, in the last 16, and all that stuff. You have to go through the group stage. You can take so much confidence of it, and that's what we did from the Champions League defeat against Madrid. This was a strange final, and it wasn't said nothing about the boys, absolutely nothing. The only thing what we realized, we are good enough to cause a few more teams now problems, and that's exactly the plan for the next season. And yeah, in this season we are now, and of course it's like we have now end of April or whatever, and still we didn't start again and all that stuff. That's clear, but it's whenever we can play again, whenever it will be, we will not give up. That's the only thing. We will, if the moment when it's allowed to concentrate on football again for us, then we will do that again, and then we will start with that again, and then we'll try our best again. And yeah, we will see when it will be. But yeah, it looks like in other leagues they start step by step, and we'll see how long it will take in England.
And it looks, Jurgen, like Bundesliga are getting there first. That seems to be what the suggestion is, potentially even May the 9th. So what do you make of that when you see what everyone else is doing and the conversations that you've been party to here?
Oh, in Germany, I still know everybody. So I'm in close contact to all the deciders there, to all the people there. And yeah, they open a few things. What is it? The lockdown, some adaptations now, some shops open and stuff like this. But Germany is ahead in the moment from the virus crisis point, and so we will see. Yes, they are all very optimistic that they will start mid-May, and we will see. So what that means, like yesterday, I think I heard that Spain wants to train, or that's the team train again. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but we will see how when that will start here. But you see the numbers in Germany and all that stuff. So it's just different in some departments. And here in England, I have no connection to these kind of people. So but other people in the club obviously have, and so we know what we want, and we the first thing what we want is that everybody is safe and healthy. That's the first thing. But in the moment when it's possible to start training again, of course, then we would do that, because you see, we are all at home, we are all isolated. So if we have no cases and stuff like this. So if we come together now and can train in groups of 2 or groups of 5 or 6 or 8, how they did it in Germany, and respect all the other rules, I'm not sure when that will be possible. But we have to wait for the government, like everybody in the moment. We have to wait for news and developments and stuff like that. We cannot force it, and we will not, because we can. That's absolutely not important. But how is that? If football can do and can help in some departments with lifting the mood, stuff like that, giving people something to think about and to deal with in a different way. Yeah, then we have to start training at one point, but I don't know when it will be.
Jurgen, you've been really generous with your time this morning. We appreciate that. And before you go, we'd like to ask you your views as well on punditry, because we've got one of the finest here in Jamie Carragher. And a lot of people think he should have probably gone down the coaching route, but we've been stuck with him at Sky. So my honest thought on this is, how much do you listen to people, not just Jamie, but all the people on television that you hear on radio talking about you, the decisions that you make, and things that your team does?
Oh, really not a lot. Sorry, Jamie. Maybe that's the reason why we can be still so friendly with each other. No, not a lot. I did punditry by myself. It was not that often, obviously, on the screen like you are now, because you have to. A lot of games, and you have to explain a lot and to ask a lot and all that stuff. So I accept that 100% that it's difficult and you have an opinion. So no, I think the former players are doing really well. It's like this: we cannot really listen to it because we have our own problems. And in the moment when you judge our decisions, I made that decision already, so I cannot take it back. I bring a lineup, and Jamie says he would have lined up differently, and then there's a game, we play that. If we lose, then Jamie is right. If we win, then maybe I was right. So it's not about that. I really don't listen too much. I watch football games a lot of times completely without commentary, not because the commentary is bad, but I want to be focused on the game. That's how it is. I don't need anybody who tells me number 11, but whoever it is has the ball now. But I respect that a lot. I have absolutely no problem with it. When I see it, or when somebody asks me about it, then I'm in danger to give a harsh answer. So like it was with Mr. Neville once in the past and stuff like that. So
that wasn't harsh enough.
I protect myself and the pundits a little bit by not listening too much.
Well, it was 2006, I think, that I saw you, Jurgen, on German television in the World Cup when Jamie was in Baden-Baden. I was based in Berlin with Sky. So a lot of people have maybe said in the past, this was for you in some ways a big break, that people became aware of you through your exposure on television. Is that right?
Unfortunately, yes. I didn't want to. For a long time, I didn't want to hear that, because I really wanted to be seen as the coach and stuff like this. But in this moment, they called me the TV Bundestrainer, so the TV coach of the national team, because I explained obviously, my grandmother could understand it, what I said. You can make of that what you want now. It was not so important or so easy, whatever. Or football is not so complicated. So yes, it was for me. It was coach at Mainz that time, and probably only a few insiders knew who I am. And but the ZDF, the second German television, is in Mainz. So the sports chef, boss of that department, thought, give him let's do it. Yes, and of course, after that, the whole country knew me. And the problem was, we lived still the life of a coach at Mainz, not earning a lot, stuff like this, normal flat. And then buses passed our house, coaches passed our house, and they said, lives Jurgen Klopp, and that was quite strange. It's good that it's over. It's good that it's over, but it helped my career for sure.
Any final thoughts, Cara, on Klopp the pundit?
No, well, listen, there's no doubt when Jurgen came on Monday Night Football, people still talk about that now at Sky as one of the best shows that we had. And I'm not sure if Matt McCann told you, but I'd already been asking to try and get you back on. Maybe he's going to try and keep it a secret. So hopefully we can do that again in the future, and you can school us on the punditry as well as the football.
No problem. You just have to come to Liverpool, because the trip from Liverpool to London, I don't like. I really don't like. It's just
we'll pay for the hotel.
So you can, you will get paid for that. So if you have a studio in Liverpool, then no problem. But I don't like.
We will make sure we're there, Jurgen. We will make sure we're there. Hopefully, when we are all back playing football, and maybe you'll have your hands on a big piece of silverware by then.
That would be nice, but we will see. Thank you very much. Have
Thank you, Jurgen. It's great to talk.
Take care. Take care.
Thanks, Jurgen.